we can't post both, but most of us know these lyrics by heart, so I don't think there's a problem. So I'm going to mute myself and turn on the video.
It's coming.
Sorry about that. I closed on me, so I had to start again. Here we go. Well, let's see. I truly will do it. For some reason, I'm having a little. Okay,
Well, it's okay. You're picking up more people anyway.
there we go.
Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit. Thank you for my friends. My beautiful, beautiful friends. My beautiful, beautiful friend. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious health. My glorious, my glorious, my glorious health. Thank you for my life, Spirit. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my life, Spirit. Thank you for my life. My wonderful, my beautiful, my fabulous life. My wonderful, my beautiful, my fabulous life.
Thank you, Richard. Woohoo! We finally got it. All right. And I would like to welcome everybody. Happy Mother's Day. And I would like to invite our practitioner of the day, Maureen Bishop, to do our invocation. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Michelle. And another beautiful day here, as it is all over this gorgeous planet. So yes, would you all join me in consciousness and just get comfortable, maybe take a deep breath and close your eyes. Let's take a deep breath, just a breath of life, just bringing in that oxygen and allowing carbon dioxide to go out, and just know that it's all good. So right here, right now, there is only the one presence, that one presence which is breathing us, the one presence which is love, which is in our hearts. We are one with it. We've always been one. And I give thanks in advance for this wonderful fellowship and gathering we have here. And I know for each of us that we let go of anything unlike perfect love and we leave it outside. We let go. And we just celebrate. We celebrate through our hearts today with joy and with thanksgiving for all that unfolds in this glorious day. So I give thanks for One Heart, One Mind and everyone who is here today. I know this is so, and together we say, and so it is. So great. Today, I chose a quote by Ernest Holmes. And this is actually the section of the book where he talks about the New Testament. And he's talking about the master teacher, Yeshua ben Joseph, also known as Jesus, and in Matthew 22, where he's asked, what are the two great commandments? And Jesus says, and I'll just read what Ernest says. He says, the two great commandments are to love God and our brother mankind. On these hang all the law and the prophets. Love is a complete unity with life, and we cannot enter this state unless we are in unity with all that lives, for all life is one. To love God alone is not enough, for this would exclude our fellow mankind. To love our fellow mankind alone is not sufficient, for this would be too limited a concept of God. When we realize that God and man are one and not two, we shall love both. We shall love man as an expression of God and God as a life principle in all. Now, in religious science, I was taught that the first commandment is to love God, but that is to love God in you, as you, and through you. You are the manifestation of the divine. And as long as you love yourself, it's easy to love all else, and you open yourself to a greater expression of the divine. So I want us to do just a little contemplation. I think we're doing 2 minutes of contemplation, and just go ahead and close your eyes again if you want to. And I'd like you to think about you expressing God and putting you first, the God in you. Love God and then love your fellow mankind. So let's take another deep breath and just contemplate loving yourself, loving God as you. So let's come back and just know together. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for expressing in me, as me, through me, and so it is.
And so it is. I'm going to put up the affirmation.
So if you'd all like to join with unshakable confidence, I participate fully and freely in the adventure of life. I am an ambassador of revolutionary love. I release my old story and embrace a new inspired vision of my life. The great I am within me guides and supports me. I am one with the love and law of infinite spirit. And so it is. So it is.
Thank you so much, Maureen.
Welcome.
We have some more music from Richard.
Yeah, here's a great song by the Beatles called You Say You Want a Revolution. You know, we don't need more hate and violence and upheaval. We need love, and love will enable real outreach, real revolution, real coming together. And this, again, like I say, this is called You Say You Want a Revolution. Thank you, John, and the rest of the gang, the Fab Four. You say you want a revolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world. You tell me that it's evolution, well, you know, we all want to change the world. But when you talk about destruction, don't you know that you can count me out? Don't you know it's gonna be alright? Oh, it's gonna be alright. Love will make it alright. You say you've got a real solution. Well, you know, we'd all love to see that plan. You asked me for a contribution. Well, you know, we're all doing what we can. But if you want money for people with minds that hate, all I can tell you is, brother, you're gonna have to wait. Don't you know it's gonna be alright? We're gonna make it, love is gonna make it alright. Don't you know it's gonna be alright? You say you'll change the Constitution. Well, you know, we'd all love to change your head. You tell me it's the institution. Well, you know, you better free your mind instead. But if you're carrying visions of hate and strife, you ain't gonna make it with anyone in your life. Don't you know it's gonna be alright? Oh, it's gonna be alright. Oh, it's gonna be alright. Love is gonna make it. Oh, it's gonna be alright. Love is gonna make it alright. It's gonna be alright. Thank you, John.
Oh, that's great. That's so great. I love the new lyrics, Richard. It's perfect. Great job. So I asked Richard if he would do that song for us. It was just popped into my head, and I thought, oh, that'd be perfect for that today. So good morning again, and welcome to One Heart, One Mind's online Sunday service, and happy Mother's Day. And today we honor all the people in our lives who've cared for us and mothered us, regardless of their biological relationship to us or even their gender. We honor the divine feminine principle within each of us, but we especially honor the mothers who raised us today. So happy Mother's Day to all. Let's take a deep breath and send a silent thank you to your mother, whether or not she's still living on the planet or not. As I shared last week, this month's theme is a holy uprising. And today's message, as you may have guessed, is revolutionary love. So uprisings and revolutions, aren't we just a bunch of wild and crazy metaphysicians? but isn't that exactly what drew you to the science of mind philosophy in the first place? The possibility for dramatic change in your life and the tools that can make that happen to create kind of an uprising and a revolution in your own personal life. And as I said last week, an uprising not only means a revolt or an insurrection, but it also means the act of rising up, of an ascent, if you will, and metaphorically moving into that state of heaven, which we tend to think of as above, in the higher realm. And it often takes some revolutionary act or circumstance or shift in consciousness to move us out of that lower realm of fear and into the higher experience of love. Revolution means a marked overthrow of something. You know, usually we think of a revolution as an overthrow or a change from one government to another, but a revolution, according to the dictionary, is actually a sudden or marked change in anything, like a sudden or marked change in our thinking or our feeling and our perception of something, a dramatic shift in the way we think about ourselves and our lives, for example, which brings about a dramatic shift in the way we experience life. So today's talk is all about a revolution, having a dramatic shift in the way we think and feel and behave, and also by allowing love to lead the way in every situation, whatever it may be, revolutionary love. And you know what? That's not always easy. But when we make a life-altering shift in our personal lives, in the way we think, in the way that we perceive the world around us, we're also contributing to a dramatic shift in the collective level of humanity and the collective consciousness, if you will, because there's only one life and we're all living in it. What I think, what I feel, and the way I behave contributes to the collective consciousness of all of mankind. We're all living and using this one mind, this one consciousness. And personally, I want to contribute by recognizing that my good, my love, my appreciation, all of those attributes that we think of it relating to love, that my good is your good, and that I'm contributing to your well-being when I'm contributing to the collective consciousness in that way. And we have the ability to move together into a world that is motivated and guided by love when we come together in that collective consciousness. And at its core, really what the science of mind philosophy is all about is a deep belief in our oneness. The fact that we are all interconnected and we're all interdependent. And when we realize this at a really deep level, it's easier to let love become the natural way we relate to the world. So what about love then? Let's talk about that. The kind of love that we're focusing on today is not just a sentimental love, although that's certainly a part of it, but we're also talking about a strong love, a powerful love, a creative love. And the nature of this love is transformational. It's always moving and creating something new. It's the love that created the universe and continues to move through its creation, all of its creation, including us. This love is the cutting edge of life. The transformative love that we're talking about this morning is a love that we recognize and connect with deep within our own hearts. And then we see it reflected out into everything in our outer world. The creative power of love truly is the original spark that set the universe on fire. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, called it the central flame of the universe, nay, the very fire itself, he said. And this original love that created something out of itself. This is the creative force that burns within all of us too. We are a part of that one life. And figuring out how to express this love is really a lifelong journey. It's the reason we're here. You know, last week I spoke to you about this kind of love, and I called it the I am presence, the presence that Moses encountered in the burning bush, and the same I am presence that burns within each of us. It's infinite and timeless, and it can't be extinguished. It is just who we are, infinite beings. I ran across this great quote by an author whose name I'm going to try and pronounce. Let's see if I can remember it out. Let me share the quote with you first. Oops, hang on. For some reason. Oh, I get it. Here's the quote. So the author is Khurshid Batliwala. Hey, not too bad. And his quote, it reads, let me move this little box over. We are made by love. We are made of love, and we are made for love. Everything is love anyway. Our hate is love turned sour. Jealousy is love turned bitter. Our fears are love standing upside down. Greed is love gone overboard, and attachment is love gone sticky. I really like that. Love gone sticky. So everything is love anyway, even when it appears not to look like love. Everything is the same, is some expression of love. Even when it doesn't look like it, it's still from the creative presence itself. You know, last week I also talked about another part of us, the part that helps us to navigate our human experience, our ego self. And today I'd like to take a deeper look at how we can use that I am presence, that burning fire within us, the spark of the universe that I call the I am, and use it to guide and direct our ego self as we move through our daily lives, to use the marriage of the I am and the ego to facilitate a revolution, a sudden and marked change in the way we think and feel and behave in the world through the power of revolutionary love. You know, the great wisdom traditions of the ages have all pointed to the heart as the simple central point of our experience of love. You know, we think of the divine I am presence being seated here in the heart, not necessarily in our flesh and blood heart, but in our spiritual heart. But I believe, from all of the knowledge that I have collected, that our flesh and blood heart can give us even more insight into our spiritual heart than we've given it credit for before. It's much more important than we've been led to believe. I believe our flesh and blood heart is a portal or a gateway to our larger spiritual heart. And the work of the Heart Math Institute and other doctors and scientists and researchers have pointed us in that direction as well. But before I dive into that, I want to tell a story. I want to read you a story, actually. And I found this story in a book called Love for No Reason by Marcy Shimoff. And I want to thank Marcy Katz for turning me on to this book about a year or so ago. And this week I pulled it out, and as I was putting together my Sunday message, and I opened it up, and I was reminded what a wonderful book it is. And we'll have to do a Wednesday evening dive into it sometime soon. Anyway, let me share the story with you. I'm just going to read the story because it's a wonderful story, and I don't want to get it wrong. So I'm going to just read it here for you. Let's see, here it is. Through the train window, she watched the villages and vineyards of the Italian countryside go by. It was 1942, and Susie Pinzias, a young Jewish woman who fled Nazi Germany, was traveling alone, hoping to remain unnoticed. Since she'd arrived in Italy 3 years earlier, she'd been moving from place to place, staying with friends and friends of friends, hiding from the authorities. Now she was on her way to yet another safe house in a new town. Suddenly, the door at the end of the train swung open and two police officers came in. Susie's heart began to beat wildly. They were wearing the black uniform of the fascistic, the government police. To Susie's horror, the policemen began making their way down the aisle, stopping at every row to examine the papers of each passenger. Susie knew that as soon as the police discovered she had no papers, she would be arrested. She was terrified she'd end up in a concentration camp and would face unimaginable suffering and almost certain death. The officers were getting closer, just a few rows away. There was no escape. It was only a matter of minutes before they would reach her seat. Susie began to tremble uncontrollably. Tears slid down her cheeks. Then the man next to her noticed her distress and politely asked why she was crying. "I'm Jewish and I have no papers," she whispered, hardly able to speak. To her surprise, a few seconds later, the man shouted at her, "You idiot! I can't believe how stupid you are. What an imbecile!" The police, hearing the commotion, stopped what they were doing and came over. "What's going on?" one of them asked. Susie began to cry even harder. The man turned a disgusted face to the policeman and said, "Officers, take this woman away. I have my papers, but my wife has forgotten hers. She's always forgetting everything. I'm so sick of her. I don't even want to see her again." The officers laughed, shaking their heads at the couple's marital spat, and moved on. With a selfless act of caring, the stranger on the train had saved Susie's life. Susie never saw the man again. She never even knew his name. Oh, I get little God bumps when I read it. You know, can you imagine? This story brings up a couple of things for me. First, how did you feel when I was reading the story? What welled up in you? Did you feel how frightened the young woman was? Did you have that kind of empathy and compassion? Did it spark a sense of wanting her to be safe? I did. And then how did you feel knowing that this man, who she had absolutely no connection with until that moment, would risk his own life to save hers? Did it move you? It made me feel gratitude and appreciation and genuine love for this unnamed man on the train. It made me swell with love and appreciation and gratitude, knowing that the goodness within this man and his human heart is seated within me, that I could feel that same wanting her to be safe and feeling compassion for her, even though I didn't know her until I read the story. It made me feel the experience of love, the presence of the I am. And I recognized in me the love that had prompted the man's actions. You know, how does that happen? How do we, as we witness love in the outside world, feel it within ourselves? How are we so drawn to that presence of love? When we experience love, it originates from within. Something may spark our recognition of it, but it comes from within. It reminds us of who we are. And in our unity, in our living in that one life together, we share that common bond of love. So let's get back to our flesh and blood hearts for a moment. I promised I would talk about that. So in 1991, it was discovered by a man named Dr. Amour, kind of fitting that his name was Amour, it means love in French. He discovered that we all have within our hearts about 40,000 specialized cells concentrated in a very precise way. These cells are called sensory neurites. And sensory neurites are brain-like cells that are obviously not in our brain, but in our heart. And they are concentrated in such a way that scientists now call them the little brain. And these cells in our heart learn independently of the neurons in our brain. They think independently. They remember independently of our brain. And the amazing thing about this is the discovery that we have a form of intelligence within us that is focused in our heart, that functions completely independent of our brain. It's completely independent of our thinking. And this is truly the wisdom of our heart. And it's not a metaphor, but a physiological reality. But here's the thing, the heart has its own language. Our hearts speak to us in a language different than that of our mind, that of our thoughts. It's a language of feeling and intuition. And we know now that these sensory neurites in our heart serve three functions. They learn and they remember, and they think independently of our brains in their own language. But here's the thing, they can also be tuned in or harmonized with the cells in our brain, with the neurites in our brain, or the neurons, the neural pathways in our brain. And the Heart Math Institute calls this brain-heart coherence. Dr. Joe Dispenza's work focused a lot on brain-heart coherence. In his research, he talks a lot about that. And what has been discovered is that when we harmonize the heart and the brain by moving into emotions we typically attribute to the heart, like love and compassion and kindness, appreciation, that this harmonizing opens up the door to the wisdom of the heart, to that intuitive knowing, to accessing our subconscious mind and our memory. And as you know, probably if you've been listening to these talks for a while, Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it that we access our operating system, that part of us, the subjective mind that stores feelings and memories and that actually runs a lot of our lives. And that the unconscious messages and beliefs that we've internalized throughout our life can be changed through access to this operating system or our subjective or subconscious mind. And we can do that more easily through our heart and its language of feeling and intuition. So the wisdom of the heart can lead us in this idea of a sudden and revolutionary change towards love when we listen to it. So typically in our culture, we focus so much on our brains that we tend to discount our heart, especially for males, for men in our Western culture. We've been conditioned to discount intuitive knowing that comes from the heart because it's a language of feeling and logic. And we tend to be much more accepting of mothers, females, being connected to their feelings and less than men. But you know what? There are many cultures around the globe that do just the opposite. There's a group of people, let me see if I can remember what they're, a group of people in South America called the Koji. And they teach their children to develop thinking and feeling and memory of the heart first. And then they're immersed in the world of logical thinking and functioning in the community. But they first learn about the world through their heart. While in the West, we're conditioned to learn about the heart through the world of the mind. First, we teach our children how to think logically and then to kick into the wisdom of our heart. And, you know, while one is not right and the other wrong, they're just different ways of moving through the world, different ways of learning, different ways of being. But in the story that I shared with you, I don't think that the man on the train stopped to think through the possible outcomes of his actions. He immediately saw the situation through the intuitive wisdom and loving compassion of his heart. And I would like to suggest that if we individually and collectively begin to shift the way we respond to situations and circumstances, leading less from our head and more from our heart, then we can bring about a new world born from this idea of a revolutionary love. You know, the 19th century philosopher, I'm trying to multitask, so I'm not thinking clearly. Hang on a second, I'm trying to get up this quote I want to share with you. Soren Kierkegaard is the philosopher. I want to share his quote. And here it is. He wrote this. I love this. When one has fully entered the realm of love, the world, no matter how imperfect, becomes rich and beautiful. It consists solely of opportunities for love. Just like the man on the train, he didn't stop to think about, how is this going to, what danger was he in, how is this going to affect his life. He just moved into this intuitive knowing that if he didn't act in some way, that he wouldn't be able to help this woman. And I love this idea of Kierkegaard's, that the idea of everything being an opportunity for love. Everything is an opportunity to express love in some way. I love to say that whatever is missing in any situation, we have the ability and the opportunity to bring it. Whatever that might be, appreciation, understanding, kindness, compassion, any of those things that are generated and related to the world of love from our intuitive heart. And it also reminded me of something that I read in Immaculée Ilibagizi's book, Left to Tell, about her experience in the Rwandan Holocaust. You may have heard about her. It was when the Hutus, who was a tribe in Rwanda, sought out and killed the Tutsi people, an opposing tribe. And you probably remember the story of the Tutsi woman, Immaculée, who spent 91 days in a 3x4 bathroom with 7 other women. It's an incredible story. It's a wonderful book. And I know that she's now on a lecture tour and she's come to the United States. She's done some really remarkable things. But what an incredible person. But anyway, she tells the story about how there were some really intense moments when the Hutu killers were, she was taken by her neighbor, who was her pastor, and she and these 7 other women were hidden in this bathroom, and he slid this great big piece of furniture over the door so nobody would know that it was there. And there were some really tense moments for them when they were stuck in this bathroom, and there were times when the Hutus were actually in the bedroom searching for them, and they suspected that the pastor had hidden them, and they couldn't find them. They didn't find them, but she was really afraid. They were all petrified that they would be discovered and slaughtered. And Immaculée describes this one situation in great detail. And she talks about how she remembered a few biblical verses. They didn't have a Bible, but she remembered a few biblical verses that she had memorized as a child. She knew them by heart, and also the Lord's Prayer. And she would recite these verses over and over to calm herself and bring herself into a center. But she said that she struggled with praying for her enemies, to pray for these people who were trying to kill all of her family and her friends. They actually did. She was filled with this rage and hatred for the people who were trying to do her harm. And she describes this one situation where one night she heard this horrific incident where a mother was slaughtered outside of the house where they were being hidden, and her infant was left crying, and it just really haunted her. And she couldn't get over it, and she was really struggling with this idea of Jesus's teachings to love thy neighbor. And let's see, I wanted to read this one little piece to you. See if I can find it here. Oh, I know I have it, so I'm going to find it. Oh, here we go. So she said, I prayed to God to receive the infant's innocent soul, and then asked him, how can I forgive people who would do such a thing to an infant? I heard the answer clearly. You are all my children, and the baby is with me now. Oh, it just breaks my heart. It was such a simple sentence, but it was the answer to the prayers I'd been lost in for days. The killers were like children. Yes, they were barbaric creatures, but they were still children. They saw, but didn't understand the harm they'd inflicted. And they didn't understand how badly they were hurting themselves. I love that idea. They didn't understand how badly they were hurting themselves, because we are all one life. And as we hurt our others, we hurt ourselves. I thought that was really powerful that she wrote that. And she goes on to write, in God's eyes, the killers were a part of his family, deserving love and forgiveness. I knew I couldn't ask God to love me if I were unwilling to forgive his children. I held onto my father's rosary again, and I heard the voice, forgive them. For they know not what they do. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Just as Jesus said those words as he hung on the cross. When I read that, I was just, isn't that the ultimate of recognizing that we are all living in one life? And no matter what happens, we are all a part of that. We are all one in this life, no matter what horrific things we've done on planet Earth. Now, I am certainly not advocating to have anybody kill anybody or create suffering for anyone else, but what a concept to truly love your enemies. I don't know about you, but I have trouble forgetting the guy who cuts me off in traffic. And this is just a remarkable example of revolutionary love in action. And I can't help but wonder if everyone, like the Kogi children in South America, learned to see the world first through the loving wisdom of their hearts, how many horrific tragedies might be avoided. It blows my mind that Immaculée could have come into a place of truly forgiving beyond what was happening in her life. Or the man on the train who could put his own life in jeopardy to help this woman who he had never met before. You know, I'm emboldened with the idea of revolutionary love when I hear stories like this. And we could go on and on and on, tell stories like this all day long. People who have done amazing things and have truly been able to live in the commitment of Jesus, or the advice of Jesus, to love our neighbors as ourselves. But it's never too late. It's never too late to focus on that I am presence within us that always seems to make the best out of every experience. And it invites us to use it as a call to connect with that deeper love, a revolutionary love. You know, so we can make a commitment today to retrain our thinking brain to defer to the loving wisdom of our heart brain, to allow it to lead the way, to feel, to love unconditionally, no matter what the situation, even as remarkable as the ones that I've shared today. So here's where I am. I am ready and I am willing to create a life from the power of revolutionary love. And I invite you to think about it yourself. I am willing and ready to become aware of what my mind is thinking and question whether I am being led by love. And that love, which is centered in the pathway, in the portal of the heart, through those wonderful heart cells, those heart brain cells that I spoke about, that will allow us to use our intuitive knowing, our intuitive connection to that one great divine, beautiful I am that is present within us to drive my life. So I am committed to listen to that deep intuitive wisdom of universal love and to allow it to guide my life. How about you? I'm going to leave you with that question and let you ponder it this week. So let's pray. Taking a nice deep centering breath in. I know that all there is this one life, this one all-encompassing, beautiful, connected unity of everything that exists, that it is love and wisdom and grace and compassion and kindness and beauty, that it shouts loudly and it whispers in a calm, gentle way, and that it is who and what each and every life form, each and every creation is expressed from, including us. We are this life. We are this one presence and this one power and this one love. So I speak my word for and about everyone within the sound of my voice and everyone who is not, that there's a shift in consciousness, a greater realization and opening and allowing a flow of this beautiful presence that we call love, this beautiful life that we call love, that is moving through us constantly, ever acting as the cutting edge of our life and unfolding before us in the highest and best way it can, that we allow it to. That there is a shift in consciousness that allows this full flow without any resistance, without anything in its way, flowing through us and increasing in its momentum and its expression of good. So I know this for each and every person that is living on planet Earth, and each and every being who is not. And I just simply say thank you. I am just so grateful for the ability to be an expression of the divine, to be able to use the same creative laws to express and create my life and to affect that one life in everything I think and everything I do and every way I behave. Oh, so I just take in a great deep breath of appreciation. I let this prayer go into the capable hands of law, knowing that it is already making its way into demonstration. I feel so blessed and so grateful, and I invite you to say with me, and so it is. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. Oh, wow. So revolutionary love. I had such a great time looking up these wonderful stories about people who have expressed this kind of love unconditionally and without real regard for themselves. And I'm sure we could probably all share stories of people that we know and even of ourselves who have done the same thing. So I would like to invite you to move into our spiritual practice of conscious giving. I have the affirmation here. And first I'm going to share with you the many ways that you can give to the center. Let me find it right here. Oops, didn't go far enough. So you can give, if you are going to give a financial gift to the center, which we all deeply appreciate. It's a spiritual practice. We know that what we give returns to us multiplied. You can give on Venmo, you can give on Tidely, or you can give by a snail mail check to our assistant treasurer, Jim Massapus, and his address is up in our Zoom chat room right now. And if you give on Venmo, please search for Leslie Massapus, who is our board president, and that goes right into our church bank account. So I wanted to say that. And I want to invite you to say our affirmation for today, for sacred giving. So I'll read it, and please say it along with me. I recognize that my gift is an instrument of the energy and love of God. As it flows from me, it uplifts and advances all life, including mine. I give and receive joyously. I am so grateful. And so it is. And so, Leslie, do you have any announcements that you'd like to share?
We have activities Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday you all can participate in. And the first one on Monday is at 6:30. And that is the spiritual recovery event. And it covers the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we're going to be covering step number 6 this week. And then Tuesdays at 6 o'clock, the spiritual inoculation group is going to be led by Reverend Michelle. And the topic is forgiveness as a path to transformation. And then Wednesday is Maureen Bishop covering the art of uncertainty. And Maureen, what are the chapters for this next week?
Chapter 11 and 12, we're going to talk about how big is your bucket. We're going to talk abundance. And then chapter 12 is choices. How conscious are your choices?
Thank you. And then May 23rd is our annual meeting that will be held after the regular service. And we will be voting for the replacement of 2 board members at that meeting. And a reminder that you can have spiritual mind treatment at any time after the service by simply going into chat and letting the hostess know that you would like to work with someone. If you know which one of the practitioners are, you let them know the name. Otherwise, you will be assigned to someone and placed in a private room to have your session. And that's it on the announcements that I have.
Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, this tomorrow, you know, when we do the spiritual recovery meeting, we look at that through the principles of metaphysics as well. It's really been a fun journey for me. I you know, even if you don't have an obvious addiction like alcoholism or drug addiction or whatever, we're also broadening our definition of addiction to include anything that we look outside ourselves for to make us feel better. It's a journey within. Anyway, just thought I'd throw that in. Our benediction is going to be done by Rob McGregor today. Did you know? He looks surprised, but I know Rob. He can pray on the spot.
Okay. We're gonna wing it here. It's always good to wing prayer, because you feel it deeply. You go inside and you feel the God just because you can, and that is the most wonderful, delightful, splendid aspect of our experience as we go through life. And so I take this opportunity to say thank you, God, for all that has gone here. And there's been some touching stuff that's gone on here. And there has been some enlightening stuff that's gone on here. And I, and speaking for everyone, am better for it. I am so grateful for One Heart, One Mind. I am so grateful for Reverend Michelle. And I am so grateful for everyone who has shown up to improve our experience by simply being here. Thank you, God, for me. Thank you, God, for us. I am so happy that all of this is so. I release my word, and together we say.
And so it is. And that is some revolutionary love right there. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rob. Appreciate that. And our closing song today is Sacred Love, because, you know, we're talking about love. So I'm going to do my very best to share this. And here we are.
Love by Daniel Namod. Sacred Love by Daniel Namod. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are blessed peace. Blessed peace is all that you are. You are blessed peace. Blessed peace is all that you are. Show the way, God, show the way. I want to live in such a state of grace. Lead the way, God, lead the way. I want to live in such a holy place. Such a holy place. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are. You are sacred love. Sacred love is all that you are.
Thank you, Richard. We love that. That was so great. Perfect ending.